All right, welcome everyone. It's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. We're having a great time here. We're actually going to create an ink and wash painting. This is fun. I've done a number of these over the years on YouTube, but I haven't done one in about maybe 6 months or so. I think I haven't done one in a while, so I figured let's do an ink and wash. Why not? Everyone's probably wondering what happened and why I haven't done any, but it's just been a matter of I kind of just got tunnel vision and didn't think about maybe creating some ink and washes. I know people really enjoy these, so here's a really fun ink and wash we'll do together. It's really exciting. I'm going to actually show you how to make your own ink and wash pen, which is going to really kind of take your ink and washes to a whole nother level. I use a simple process of just using a bamboo stick, and then I use a matchstick, and I file off the matchstick with a little bit of coarse, very, very coarse sandpaper to get a nice wide 45-degree angle on the matchstick. And this way you can do really large shading of areas with your black ink. I'm using some really wonderful Winsor & Newton Black Indian ink. It's number 951. Comes in these beautiful little black jars, and then you can just open up the jar and dip in your bamboo ink pen, and you can get a lot of beautiful ink and wash paintings completed. You'll have a wonderful time doing this. They're so much fun. So we're going to show you how to do everything here on this video. So stay tuned right here. We're going to show you the whole enchilada, everything, the whole kit and caboodle. We're going to do how to make a quick bamboo ink and wash pen. Literally 5 minutes, and I show you how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, I tell you right in the video here. Get somebody that you know, your friend, maybe you're a friend or a family member that's good with construction type stuff, handiwork. It could be anybody, someone that knows carpentry, masonry, roofing, electrical, plumbing, any kind of trade people. They would be able to make this bamboo stick with you for you in about 5 or 10 minutes. It's really that simple. But you have to be good with your hands and good with a little bit of tools to be able to pull it off and do it really well. So always remember, don't let other people try to help you do things. If you can't do it yourself and you don't think you can make this after watching me do it, just show somebody that knows, someone that's handy with tools and things like that. Show them my video and say, here, look at the video. First 5 minutes of the video, you'll see how he does it, and they'll be able to make 2 or 3 of these for you. And then after you get one made like this, all you have to do is change out the matchstick every once in a while, and you can have your friend or family member do that for you, or you can do it yourself. You just take a pair of pliers and pull out the matchstick and stick a new matchstick in, and then you just file it down. You just, once you get the matchstick stuck in there, the new one, once this one wears out, you get the new matchstick stuck in there, and then you just file it on down until you have your nice 45-degree angle on your matchstick, and you're ready to do ink and washes again. All right, so let's start up the video, be right back, and we're going to have some fun on this video. Lots of stuff here to cover, and let's get prepped and ready to go. All right, so we're going to get started here. You just saw the finished video. I'm hoping that you're excited to do this painting. Essentially, this is a ink and wash painting. So we've done ink and wash before on my channel. You could even type in my name, Chris, Chris, Petri, Petri, ink and wash. So if you type in those 4 words, my name, my first name, my last name, and then ink and wash, you'll find that I've done at least probably 10 or more ink and wash videos. Tutorials. So if you want to go back and see some of those archived, all you got to do is just type that into YouTube, search, and you'll find that. So it's just really a great way to kind of do a few more ink and wash paintings if you want to after we do this one, so that you kind of have some more fun and excitement working with ink and wash. It's a great way to paint watercolors. It's actually kind of like a way to give your painting a lot of good, strong tonal values, lots of good, powerful darks. And then also you're able to paint in a lot of your light washes too. So you can kind of get a real impactful looking watercolor painting with ink and wash technique. So I haven't done one in a while, the ink and wash technique paintings, but I want to do one here and hope you'll enjoy watching along and joining along too. And I'm going to actually show you how I make my ink and wash pens. So you're going to see me in this video using this pen, which is basically a bamboo, small. This is about a 14 or 16-inch bamboo stick. You can buy these online and buy the bag full. They're great for gardening. You can stick these in the soil or in a pot, a pot for flowers, to hold your flowers straight up, or your plants, maybe if you're starting out some plants when you're growing now in the springtime, tomato plants and different kinds of herbs and things like that, you can use these small bamboo sticks for your gardening too. So, and many of you already are familiar with the bamboo sticks for your gardening. But some of you may not garden, so you might not know about these, but these are great. So you can use these for gardening, and you can also use these to make a beautiful ink and wash pen. So I'll show you exactly how I make mine. We'll do that first here, and then we'll get started with the drawing and the painting. First thing I do is I bought a package of bamboos, like so, and they basically have a, if you can see that, they have a hole there in the front top. So that's the spot we're going to put our matchstick in. So all you need is a matchstick, wooden matchstick, regular good old wooden matchstick. And what I do is I usually take the matchstick and I cut it about halfway like that with a pair of clippers, wire cutters. And then I take the matchstick and I push the matchstick into the tip of the, like this, into the tip of the bamboo, like that, right? Now you have it like that, stuck in there, and then you can flip it over and tap on it on a table. Probably good to do it on like a wooden table or some tiles or something, or a tile floor. And you very carefully, you hold it straight up vertical, so you don't want to be on an angle or anything like that. You can't be on an angle like this or like this or like this or like this. You got to be straight plumb, straight plumb, and then you just tap on your, I don't want to ruin my watercolor paper here. Let me see if I can find something quick. Okay, I have a stone caddy I made for my paintbrushes and pencils and pens. It's basically like a case, a little small, and I put I trimmed down some PVC plastic pipe, and I put them in there, and you can put pencils, pens, and things like that in here, something like that. These work really good. So I have a couple of these at the shop, at the studio here. But anyway, if you turn this on its side, and then you take your matchstick that's now wedged in the tip of the bamboo pen, and you just tap on it real lightly, real easy, until it gets really firmly seated inside the bamboo tip, the tip of the bamboo, like that. And now you can see how it's gone in quite a bit. So now it's wedged in there really well. You can kind of see that. It's wedged in really good in the bamboo stick here. Like that. And then once you have this completed, the rest is extremely simple. I just take some coarse sandpaper, like so. This is very coarse sandpaper. I don't know what the grit is on this. Not sure of the grit, but it's like, really kind of like, you could probably use a nail file too, like a really, really super coarse nail file. But in any case, you just want to put a little bit of a 45-degree angle on the tip of your matchstick. And then if you see this here, this is the bamboo stick I'm going to use now, the bamboo pen I'm going to use now, and you can kind of see how that has a little bit of a 45-degree angle on it going this way. So there's an angle on this here like this, and I got this by just taking the bamboo and the matchstick all together as one, and I just take it and I sand it down on the paper and I get that angle. And then you have a beautiful pointy tip, and then you have a nice angle on your matchstick. So let's do it with this one here. So I'll take this one here, and you can kind of see it's just straight. It's just a straight matchstick, and then you take this and you take one side and you just start gently filing it down on an angle. Lightly. No, you don't push down hard at all, just lightly. I'm just holding it in place, the matchstick, so it doesn't break off. So it doesn't break off here, so I'm hoping you'll see this here. And then you have your 45-degree angle like that. And you can even get it sharper if you want. And that's how you get that 45-degree angle on the matchstick, like that. And then we're ready to use this. And then that's pretty much how I made these. This is how I made these ink pens. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to use some Winsor & Newton black Indian ink. So these are beautiful Indian ink from Winsor & Newton, and they come in these beautiful small jars. You can just turn the jar open like this, and then you can open up the jar. And then once you open up the jar, it's perfect. You have our ink pen like so, and you just dip it in like that, and you have your ink. And let's do a test run. So we'll do a little test run here. So we have our test paper here before we do our final painting. Let's do our little bit of testing with this. So we have our ink. The only thing with ink and wash is you really want to be careful. Make sure you put down some sheets on the floor, sheets on your couches or chairs, whatever you're using, because if you do drop this for some reason or it falls over, that can really be a huge problem. So you might want to make sure you have everything covered really nicely so you don't ruin any of your good furniture or your good clothes too. You don't want to wear your fancy pants or blouses or shirts or anything like that when you're working with ink, because this does make marks and it's hard to get out. I don't think it can be removed in the wash. So let's see, now we just dip our pen in the ink, and you can get some really cool sharp lines like this. And then if you dip this in and use the 45-degree angle, look at that. You can get incredible variation of lines with this beautiful homemade bamboo with matchstick ink pen. Look at all that shading you can do really quickly. And then you can get the really subtle, beautiful, fine lines that you want. Like that. However you want to. You could do anything like that. So look how cool that is. So if you're doing a large painting, like a larger size painting, you have plenty of, you can get really wide lines. You can make a window. Something like that. You can make an interesting window. There we go. There's a nice, interesting window. Some shadow underneath it. Looks good. Maybe some brick around it. If you want to do some brickwork, you can do that. So you have unlimited opportunities to have beautiful drawings, ink lines. You can do this with just basically, you can do paintings without any watercolor if you want as well, but we're going to do watercolor obviously with this one. But you can kind of see how you can really get some nice, beautiful fine lines. So you can see we're getting wonderful marks, beautiful black ink drawings, all kinds of interesting shapes, designs, thickness of lines. So this is really going to be to your advantage to create something like this, or you can even probably purchase something similar to this online. I think they do sell these online. You might have to research that quite a bit. Maybe in the next coming weeks or so, I'm going to try to research maybe to see if there is a place that you can get these homemade bamboo ink pens. But this is a homemade one I made, and I'm hoping that you'll try it out. It's not difficult. You just go back to the beginning where it's just very simple to put it all together. It's literally takes about 5-10 minutes. And if you're not handy and you're not confident that you can build this, find somebody in your family, maybe your spouse or one of your children, somebody in the family that's good with carpentry or construction. They can easily build this by just watching the first 10 minutes of this video. So you can just say, hey, I want you to make me this. You're good at construction work and handiwork and all that. Can you make this for me? Make a couple of them for me. And then just show them the video the first few minutes, and they can probably just 1, 2, 3 put it right together for you, and it'll be like nothing. It'll be like literally, you just have to have the parts for them. So if you're going to ask somebody to do this for you, make sure you have some matchsticks. You buy a little box of matchsticks. Make sure you buy these bamboo sticks online first, so you have all the parts that you need to give to the person to put it together if you can't do it yourself. But if you can do it yourself, obviously you're going to do it. You could see how quick I did that, and it's pretty easy. And so, all right, let's get started with the drawing. We're going to do a pencil drawing first, light pencil drawing. Then we're going to get into we'll do the ink over the top of the pencil, and then we'll do our final watercolor washes. And you're going to see how beautiful this looks. We're going to do a gorgeous scene. You just saw the painting. Let's get started in just a few minutes. Okay, so we're back, and we're actually going to get started here. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to make sure I take my mat, put it on my paper, just to make sure I got plenty of room. So if you do this painting and it comes out really fantastic, you don't want it to be like you made it too small, and then when you put a mat on it, it doesn't fit within a pre-cut mat. So this is a pre-cut mat. You buy these online in the stores. All the big box stores have them. The art stores have them. That's the main thing we want to do, is just make sure that our painting is at least as big as this opening of the mat. You want it to go a little larger though. So what I do is I take my mechanical pencil, I put 1, 2, 3, 4 small dots on my paper. Then I know that's my mat opening, and then I just go a little larger on all sides of this opening. So that's accomplished by just taking the original dot that I made, and then you just go a little bit, about a 1/2 inch larger each way. Once I do that, I say, okay, that's the dot. The original dot is here. I have to go this way, like that. Here's the original dot for where the pre-cut mat was, where the opening was of the window of the mat. I go a 1/2 inch over this way, and I make a line that way. Then I say, okay, here's the original dot. You might make that in a different color pencil if you want, so you don't lose track of which is your original dot that you make when you put it in your on your paper when you're using your mat. So you could always take your mat and use a different color pencil. So you might have like a red pencil, or something like that, or a green or a blue pencil, and then you make your original marks with that blue or green or red pencil or crayon or something. You've got to use a pencil though, some with a fine dot. You don't want to make a large mark. Then when you lift this up, you know that the original mark you made was like a blue or a red kind of like pencil dot. Then you just go with your other dots and make it larger like that. Then you go down here and go, okay, here's my original dot. All right, no big deal. I'm going over this way a 1/2 inch. Come down that way. Here's my original dot. I'm coming down this way a 1/2 inch, and I'm going across. And this one comes down a 1/2 inch larger. So now we're a 1/2 inch larger all the way around where that pre-cut mat opening is. So that this way you know you have a little bit of room. You can move this mat around a little bit. So once you're done with your painting, then you can set the mat down and go, I think I can move it this way a little bit, or that way looks better. This way might look a little better. And you can even make it larger. You can give yourself more room. So if you can just imagine make your painting as big as you want, and then you drop the mat on top of it and move it around. However, you are going to want to have a definite picture space you want to work in. So that's the main point is, we know our picture frame is going to be about this size. So we go a little bit larger just so we make sure we have enough painting on there so that we can cover it with this. And that's about it. And then we're going to get our picture photograph from the online photograph I found. And this is over in the UK. Let me see if I can get this to spin. There we go. And this is a beautiful seascape scene, ocean scene. It's got the beach, some boats, and some beautiful buildings in the United Kingdom along the ocean in Suffolk County. And let's see. Let's go about here. I just want to get this in the picture frame like that. Maybe we'll go a little lower here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, it's a little strange maybe if I usually put the picture up top, but let's leave it down here like this. And let's see if we can just get the basic shapes of things. Okay, so we know up here is the tops of the buildings. We're not going to go crazy. I'm even going to take an eraser, a kneaded eraser. It doesn't make any crumbs. And I'll just erase these dots. There we go, better. All right, so I'm going to do a super light, what they call preliminary sketch. You heard me probably say this a lot of times. Preliminary sketches are basically super light pencil lines that are going to help you to start your painting. And then if you need to make some corrections and erase a little bit with your eraser, you can do that, and it's not going to be hard to lift up the pencil lines because you're only making a very super light pencil line here. Then once you're done with your super light pencil line, then you can go over that with a darker pencil line if you want. So I'm going to do the super light pencil line over here. Start out with the chimney up here. Then we go across here. And I'm not going to get too worried about being too accurate. I just want to get the basic shape of things. And we come down here. And then if I look at this picture, this photograph, this building here, which is a boathouse, is about a little more than halfway down. So I want to make sure, let's see, if we're about halfway here, that might be about good. And then we'll make that boathouse here, like that. Then we go across with the boathouse like that. Then here we have a kind of like a tower. And you're going light here with your pencil lines until you get the feel for things and you say, all right, that's pretty good. Then I say, okay, well, what's underneath this tower here? There's another small roof here, like that, and a wall, and there's a wall here, and a wall here, like that. And then here you have our boat. Now the front of our boat is right here in the middle of this boathouse. So now we're going to look at the bow of the boat and say it starts right here in the center of this shack, this boat shack here. So that's all you have to remember. And then you come out and around like that. And then there's another boat over here. Well, that's actually the stern of this boat. So let's go up there like that. Actually, it goes that way, like this. Okay, so now we have our boat. And doesn't have to be perfect. You can do something like that. Looks pretty good. And we get some of the boards on the side of the boat like that. Good. And that should be fine. And don't worry if you're not perfectly within your square. You can move your You can do anything you want. You can make your own custom mat, or you don't even have to use a mat when you frame it. The matting is just a suggestion on how to prepare if you're going to put a mat on your painting. But if you don't always have to use mats, you can decal the edges of your painting with any number of creative ideas to get your edge of your painting, your paper, deckled. Or you can just trim it with scissors and put it on some paper and then frame it with a background paper. All right, so now we're going to get the roof of this tower here completed, and then there's a little bit of the face of the tower here. Don't get caught up and worried about the details of these things. Just get it the best you can, the drawing. And again, I'm not going to do a lot of details. You can see a lot of details in here. This photograph has tons of details in there, but we're going to just keep it basic. We're not going to go with all those details. As a matter of fact, we're going to leave out the details really because we're going to pretend that the light's behind us, which it is in this painting. So we're looking into the light and the light's shining forward towards us, and that means you're not going to see a lot of detail in a lot of this sides of these buildings and all of this subject matter that we're doing here. So let's continue on. We have some more buildings here in the distance, chimneys and roofs. And again, we're going to go over this with ink. So get excited. We're just only beginning here and having the first part of the fun is just getting a kind of a simple sketch in here, a simple preliminary sketch like this. And then we have another roof over here like this and a few more going off in the distance here. And then we'll have a fun time by just taking these lines this way. And then as the buildings go this way, sure, there's some other more interesting buildings over here. Just have some fun. Make some building shapes, chimneys, lots of roofs and chimneys. So I'm going to improv here. I don't want to take forever going over all these details in this thing. So I'm just going to make things up as I go a little bit. But do follow the photographs that you have or my finished painting. I always say if you can, try to work from my finished painting in the beginning of the video. That's the best bet. And there's some more rooftops over here in the distance. Like this. Fronts of the buildings, and we'll make this cooler in color over this way. And I'm not going to get really too much worried about, there's some boats along here. I'll make some boat shapes here. People have their boats parked out in front of their apartments and homes along here. So I'll put some boats there, shapes of boats. And I think that's good. And then right there is the shoreline. And we have lots of sky. Now here, I will put another couple of lines for buildings and the fronts of the buildings with their windows. And we'll get that in with the ink and wash. So that's your... And then we're going to do some windows over here. Like that. 4 windows I see over here, and then another one over here. And there's a little bit of a wall there, and then another wall over here. And there's some other stuff over there, but we're not going to get too bogged down with all kinds of details. We'll make some windows over here. There's another window there. Another window there. There's another building over here with a roof coming down just to kind of keep things... There's a rooftop over here. A little bit of a Tudor look with some wood planking. And then there's another bit of windows over here, like so. So you can kind of see I'm trying to just do the photograph some justice here by getting in some details but not going too crazy. I think that's enough. I think that's all we need to really do this painting is this sketch right here. So I'm going to leave this sketch just as it is. I'm not going to worry about going over with a darker pencil line. You could go over with a darker pencil line if you like. That's fine. If you feel like you want to just kind of get it a little more solid with the pencil drawing, darker lines. But I'm going to go over this with the ink now. So we're going to go over this with the ink. I'm just going to put some chimney pots on top of these here, like that. Okay. And then this is pretty good. This is going to be sand color here, like a golden sand color, and there's going to be a golden sunset here, or it could be a sunrise too. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to paint into the light. The light's behind us. Maybe it's a sunrise or a sunset in the back here. Let's make our light signia right here, like that. That's our light, spotlight, the light bulb, and the light shining right at us. That's the sun setting or rising. And then we'll know that the shadows are going to be on this side of the buildings, and the light's coming from back behind the buildings, shining this way. And that really helps us to kind of put everything together looking realistic. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll start putting on our ink. That's going to be the fun part. And remember, we already have our ink pen all set up with our bamboo ink pen and matchstick in there. And again, don't be afraid. Ask for some help if you can't put this together from a friend, someone you know that where you work with that's handy, someone that's good with carpentry or masonry or plumbing or electrical, handy type people, people that are good with their hands, they make things. They'll be able to put this together again like 1, 2, 3. Okay? All right, so I'll be right back. We'll start adding ink to this and we'll see how beautiful this all comes together. Okay? Be right back. All right. We are back. We're going to start our ink over the top of our pencil lines. I'll use my Winsor & Newton black Indian ink. The product number is a 951 in Winsor & Newton ink. I'm just going to dip in my ink here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work left to right because I'm right-handed. If you work, let's say you're right-handed like myself, you'd start over on the left side and work your way this way with your ink drawing because you don't want to start over here and then lean into your painting and then you'll smudge all your ink and it'll look awful. So you really can't fix ink and wash. So the main idea is if you're left-handed, you'd start your painting over here on the right side and do all your ink drawing over this way and just keep working this way all the way across. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to start over here and then get my ink started over here, and then you can see that I won't get fouled up and lean into my ink because I'm starting here and working my way all the way across this way. And when you run out of ink, you just dip a little bit, the tip of your pen into your ink, and you get started again. And you're having fun with this. And especially if you have never done this before, don't have high expectations of how it's going to turn out. Just say to yourself, let me have fun with this and see what goes, what happens with it. But don't get worried. I'm just outlining my pencil sketch, basically. You can see that. I'm just going over my pencil sketch with my pen. And then as you go and you work on this more and more and you have more fun with this, and maybe you're going to work on this once in a while just to change up and do something different, then you can do, change some things and work on your techniques, and maybe you'll figure out some ideas that maybe work better. Maybe you're going to adjust a little bit with your ink. Maybe you're going to be more real careful with where you're putting your darker ink lines and things like that. But for right now, we're just going to really try to have a fun time getting the basics here, which is just going over our drawing that we made. And then maybe once we get all this on here, all of our ink over the top of that pencil line we created, then maybe we'll go over it and say, okay, where can we add any more darks anywhere? And we'll look over here and kind of say, yeah, we could maybe shade some areas in that are kind of darker that can use a little shading with the ink pen. Because the ink pen can really beautifully enhance your watercolors by giving you some really dark tonal values in your painting that you might not otherwise get if you're working with watercolor and you tend not to mix darks too much, which a lot of watercolor artists forget to hone in on creating good darks. It's kind of I struggle with it too when I first started watercolor, so all artists sometimes struggle with getting good darks in their watercolors, so this kind of helps. Okay, now under here, I could definitely see there was dark, like dark black almost, for the bottom of the boat. So that's what I'm going to do there. Keep dipping your pen in the ink as much as you need to, like that. And that was... And then here too, I noticed there's a good bit of darks in there, so I dip my pen in. Like this. Okay, and we'll just keep working things. You get some of those really good lines you created with your pencil sketch. That's what you're going to do. You're going to get those same lines going in your ink now. And then we add some boat shapes over here. See, now here's where the problem lies. I'm starting to work back over this side, which I should not be doing because look what happened. You can see the ink on my hand right there. So now my tendency is once I do that, I lean into this. Then I lean on my paper again, and I'll start making all kinds of blotches of black ink. We can't do that. Let's forget the idea of going back over here. All right, so I caught myself quick because I've done this too many times where I've ruined my ink and wash paintings by smudging everything all over the place. I've done it too many times to tell you. But you got to laugh at it. Have fun at yourself. Laugh at yourself sometimes. And we'll do some roof like that. I've got to trim down this thing. It's like, this is I think an 18-inch or a 16-inch bamboo. I got to trim it down a little because it's banging into my recording equipment gear here that I have all my setup with my frames with my cameras on it and stuff. But I'll have to do that not now, later. But there we go, look. And I'm making up some windows as I go. There. Make some stuff up once in a while. That's what artists do, right? We're artists here. Can we talk? We're artists here. You got to be improvise once in a while. Do some creative additions and deletions. If you don't want to paint something in a painting, leave it out. If you want to add something in, add it in. It's just a painting. Nothing's going to happen. And there we go. So I think this is good. Let's leave this as is. Maybe there we'll do another line here like that. And this one here too. Okay. So, and you can imagine there's a lot of vertical lines in here, which looks good. Lots of vertical lines in this. And these are, we could do some more shading over here. And we're using that 45-degree angle there. You see that 45-degree angle we used or we kind of shaped that with the sandpaper. So remember, we took our sandpaper, coarse grit sandpaper, and we filed this down so that we had a 45-degree angle on our matchstick. That gives us a really fine point up here for all our fine lines, and then it gives us that wide 45-degree angle to do these shadings like that. And this is where you don't really get that. Probably. You might have to make this. I don't think they even sell these. So you got your ink, your new bamboo pen you made, or you had someone make it for you because you're not particularly handy. And that's fine and good. Not everyone can be handy and good with tools and stuff like this. Those people that aren't good with tools probably are maybe smarter. They're better with mathematics and calculators and things. And let's see here. I'll make a couple more windows. Like that. All right, that's good. I think that should be fine. Maybe a little more. Once in a while, too, if you have to take some ink off your pen to the side, you do that. All right, that looks fine. And one more couple things here. This over here, I see a window there and another window over here, like that. And there's another door there, like that. All right, perfect. All right, let's get excited. We're going to use our paints next. We're going to go over this with a beautiful wash. And let's do this here. We get a little bit of a line there, a good, and some, maybe some kind of like stones on the beach here. So I make a little bit of dots here, and just a little tiny bit of dots, maybe like this too. And we'll do some splashing too. Okay. That looks pretty good. And I think one more thing here. We're just going to do a couple of these boat. Like that. And this one here like so. All right, perfect. Let's come right back and we'll start putting some washes on here. We're going to have even more fun yet. Be right back. Oh, I forgot to mention, hey, if you haven't subscribed, on the right-hand side below, there's a subscribe button. Here on YouTube, if you really enjoy someone's channel, like if you're really enjoying this channel here, painting along with me, we're doing some ink and wash, some new and interesting things here on my channel. Best thing to do is just hit the subscribe button below on the right-hand side. This way you don't lose track of me. Well, when you hit subscribe, all it does is the next time you open up YouTube, you'll see my new videos on your right-hand side of your YouTube home screen. And it won't be like you're getting any kind of notifications or anything like that. It's just, you'll just see my videos coming up so that you can kind of keep track of me and see what I'm doing, over the weeks and months ahead. So if you want to keep in track of me and find out what we're doing here on this channel, please feel free. Hit the subscribe button. That's all you have to do. And always mention, please give a thumbs up if you like this video, because it really helps my popularity here on YouTube. So this way, if I become more popular, more people are going to learn about this, and we'll have a lot more fun together. There'll be more people jumping in and learning watercolor, kind of having a new hobby to do and getting excited, and have something new, a new challenge, a new mountain to climb, a new thing to do and have fun with, and kind of take some of the worries out of life. When you're kind of focused on this, you don't worry too much about other things. You're focused on this. So it's a great therapeutic thing, actually, watercolor is. So it's good for everybody. If you subscribe and if you thumbs up especially, that's good, because it helps other people that'll, see the video. All right, I'll be right back. We'll start painting next. All right. We are back in business. So now let's get some watercolor washes going. And I think we're going to do this with the glazing technique, which we always talk about on my channel here. You'll always hear me say there's either the glazing technique, which is what you're going to basically do is do a light wash over the whole painting first, let it dry 100%, and then come back and do your darker tonal values, your darker washes over the top. So that's what we're going to do here, and that usually works out really fantastic with ink and wash, the glazing technique. So first thing we'll do is I'm going to I'll get a round sable brush. So this is just a simple round brush, sable brush. It's a Da Vinci Maestro number 8 round brush, and I think it's a 35 series. It's a Tobolsky Kolinsky 35 series, Germany. Again, Da Vinci Maestro number 8 round brush. I'll get some water onto my palette. I'll get some water onto my watercolor paper. Now the main thing here you have to remember, which is really extremely important, is make sure that all your ink is dry on your paper. If your ink isn't dry, you have to let it dry 100%. You can use a blow dryer to do that. You can also blot up with a little bit of a tissue. If you see any puddles of ink, you'll blot up your puddles of ink and then let it dry even further. So the best bet is to use a blow dryer after you're done doing your ink drawing, and then you really look closely at it before you start painting to make sure there's no wet spots on your black ink, because that black ink will run all over the place and really looks not so great. So I'm going to take some fresh clean water and just go over the sky wash a little bit with that down here, and then a little bit in the water too. So I basically go a little bit over everything, but more water up in the sky area. And then what I'll do is we're going to make our sky wash some raw sienna and some cerulean blue over here. So we're going to do like a raw sienna and cerulean blue wash like this, and we're just going to do it just like we see here. You can kind of see that raw sienna wash in the sky, a little bit of blue too, a little bit of warm and cool. Looks kind of interesting like that. And then in the buildings, you can kind of see it's a mixture of the warm and cools. Over here, there's some warm and cool everywhere in the buildings. So let's do that. Light wash. Just touching on there with some light wash of colors. We're going to get our darker tonal values going a little later after this dries 100%. And then we're going to go over our beach sand and stones over here like this on the beach area. So you can see this is a fun part here, a fun approach to this. You're doing a ink and wash, getting some warm and cool, some cerulean blue up here, maybe some cerulean blue in the roofs, maybe there's some cool cerulean blue in some of the buildings over here and there. Just get it on there, some of the cool and warm washes, and that should be fine. And then we'll come over this again with a darker wash of watercolor washes, but we have to let this dry 100%, because remember, with the glazing technique, that first beautiful light wash, which we just did right now, that has to dry 100%. So that means you can either use a blow dryer to dry this all off, and then you can continue working, or you let this dry about an hour to 2 hours. You have to really carefully look at it, check it out. That's with watercolor, it's kind of fun and easy. You just really kind of closely look at what you're doing and say, okay, is this dried enough now that I can start my next washes? It has to be pretty dry to the touch. It could be a touch damp, but you have to kind of know that little fine line between a tiny bit of damp paper and paper being too wet. So your best bet is to let it dry 100%, and then you know you're okay. So that's a fine line of watercolor you're going to learn as you work, and that just comes with time. I can't tell you how to figure that out. You just have to keep painting until you discover it yourself, and you'll say, oh wow, yeah, now I know what Chris was talking about how far you can go with letting your paper dry before you can start your next washes over your first glazing when you're using the glazing technique. So let's kind of take a break now, let this dry 100%. I'm going to use my blow dryer to dry it all off and make sure it's 100% dry, but let's say you could wait till the next day or the next week if you wanted to, so you don't have to rush in to do this. You can let this dry a couple hours, and then after a couple hours you can let it dry a week and come back in a week or two or even a month later and keep working on this. So it doesn't matter, but you do have to let it at least dry like 1 or 2 hours or use your blow dryer, and that's it. Okay, just want to make sure everyone understands that, because you've worked so hard so far to get this painting going with all the sketching, the ink and wash, and now you've done a beautiful glazing wash. The last thing you want to do is go in here too soon and all of a sudden you start painting and it's damp, the paper's too wet, and you start having washes flowing out all over the place, and then you're trying to blot it all up with tissues and all that kind of stuff. Don't let that happen. The simplest rule is when you do your first glazing technique, let it dry 100%. And if you want to make sure it's 100% dry, you can use a blow dryer, and then you just keep going over it and over and over until you kind of can tell there's no sheen on the paper at all, and you can look at it and touch the paper and tell there's no water left on the top portion of your paper. So that being said, let's come back in a few minutes and we'll finish painting this. And I think we're close to finish, maybe another 5-10 minutes and we should be done. Okay, so we'll be right back to finish up. Okay, we're wrapping things up here. We're going to actually finish our last bit of washes. This is going to go quick, so enjoy it. Let's have a good time with it. We're going to actually get some more washes on this paper. I used my blow dryer. This is now 100% dry, the paper, the washes that we just did. The raw sienna and cerulean blue washes are completed. We have that really nice kind of sunset kind of feel, sunrise feel here along the water, and this is in the UK in Suffolk. We have a picture we brought up from the internet to find this area, this beautiful ocean seascape area in the UK. And let's continue on here. Let's now start to get our darker darks in here. We have our light wash on first. Now we'll go over with our darker darks, and I can see right away I'm going to go in and start mixing some cerulean blue. This is French ultramarine blue, excuse me. That is French ultramarine blue. Burnt umber, let's get some darks there. And then some burnt sienna. So now we have these three really beautiful darks here. Like that. So this is going to be some of our darks. And then we're going to do some cadmium red over here with some burnt sienna too. Maybe a little cerulean blue just to get some warm and cool in there. Some blue, some cool. And there we go. Let's start working in here. So now I'm going to go over here, and I can recall I remember seeing. So again, I didn't do this 100% according to the drawing, but I'm going to just start going in and getting the darks up here. I'll put a small sponge over here so this way I can take off some water. Okay, some chimneys and some dark roof areas here. I'll wait to paint this until this dries. So, and there's more. This is pretty dark, like that. Over here too. And I'll just get in some blue. This is blue. So we're going to, we're kind of mixing it between the dark browns. So the darkest dark we're really mixed right now is the French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. That's over here. Then we did a little bit lighter of a dark, which would be burnt sienna and cadmium red over here with a little bit of cerulean blue. So between these kind of colors, you can kind of get some really good variations. If you go over something and you lose, and we can fix some of this with some white paint later maybe. There we go, we got some red roofing here, some clay tile roofing. More roofs over there. We have a couple roofs over here that we're kind of looking at. You know, one might be a little bit darker. This is more of a blue, like that. So you can kind of see I'm working my colors around, darks. This is a cobalt blue. This is kind of an interesting blue here for the top of the boat. There we go. And more of that cobalt blue right across there, like so. So we have our boat completed there, and there's a little more French ultramarine blue for the underside of the boat here. So we have some of that dark there under the boat. And what else can we do? We can add some blue. Here we can go with a little darker blue, like that. Same with over here. And it's a little bit lighter over here, so we're picking up a little more light over this side over here. And then this over here is a little bit, this is like a brick red. So we have like a brick red there. And then some more blue over here. And this is more in shadow over here, so let's make that more of a bluish color, some cerulean blue. We're picking up more light, maybe over here. This happens to be darker. And I think this is looking pretty good. A little bit more raw sienna. If we want to add a little more warmth up here. Like that. And a little bit of darker sand over here. Then maybe we can just, like that. Maybe just a little bit of raw sienna more here. And then I lighten it up there a little bit. There we go. And then a little bit of blue, cerulean blue. Like that. So I'm kind of painting. I'll slide this out of the way just a second there, and I'll do a little bit of splashing for the rocks and things like that. There we go. If the rocks don't look good and they don't come out great, you can always blot them up a little bit. Splashing tends to look really good if you can do it on top of dry paper. If you try splashing on top of wet paper, a lot of times it doesn't work well. So I would say kind of like your, basically your go-to rule is try to do your splashing on the dry paper, not on the wet, really wet paper, because it kind of just diffuses and doesn't look so good. So you don't get those little dots that you might need of like sand and rocks and things like that. So just a little tidbit of information that can go a long way with if your splashing techniques. If you like to splash, some people don't like to splash. If you don't like to do it, and don't worry, don't do it. So there we go. And I'm just adding a little bit of that color from down here, yellow ochre, up, raw sienna, I should say raw sienna, up into these areas that are cool. You can see that the raw sienna, yellow ochre kind of color, the golden color kind of is the main beautiful wash of color that's kind of everywhere in the painting. So if you see any areas that are kind of it's missing, you kind of add a little extra to your painting, and you'll see that it'll kind of harmonize all the colors together. So, all right, we are really in great shape right now. We have all of our washes in. Maybe that last chimney up there we forgot to do, we do that. And then this chimney here, we make it a little, maybe more square up top. And some chimney pots up there, but I think that should be fine. A little more dark there, just to kind of make it look good. There we go. You could always add a little bit of red, cadmium red, just for some excitement here. We'll make a little, maybe we'll pretend we have some numbers on the boat or a name on the boat like that. There we go. And there's another little bit of cadmium red too over here. There's a little bit of a life preserver over here. So there's a life preserver right over here. Like that. That's another little bit of red you can add in. And there's maybe another little bit of red over here. So there's a couple little spots of color here and there you can add. You can add to your painting. It makes it look much better. If you can add a few little dots of really exciting color. So we did some of the cadmium red here and there. A couple of dots and color, a little bit of bits of color. So we have the boat, has the writing on the boat, some nomenclature on the boat. We have maybe a red life preserver over here, and then maybe another red life preserver over here in the distance. You add those little sparkles of really beautiful straight color out of your palette. Really looks good, really looks nice. All right, so we've done a lot here. We've had a fun time. Let me move my phone here. And I must say, that looks really good. I think that's good. We could put a couple figures in, but I'll do that, later, maybe tomorrow. I'll put in a couple figures tomorrow with some of the black ink probably. So you can add a few little small figures in there. Just remember, maybe I'll add the figures in actually, and you'll see it on the very beginning of the video when we show you the final painting, because I think I want to add that in there. But I want to get the chimney in there right at the top there. So that's what I would do there. I wouldn't cut off that chimney maybe. I would probably leave that chimney in like that. Although the boat looks good there too. So, but no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. So I would do this here. I would leave that chimney right at the top. And that's how I would finish this painting, by putting it in the frame with this mat. Maybe a beautiful silver or gold frame, or maybe even like a wooden frame or something, like a dark wood, like a cherry wood or something. You never know. That could really look good. And you can even use a white mat too, like that. So it's up to you how you want to mat your paintings, but if it comes out good, definitely mat it. Put it in a frame. All right, so we're going to see you on the next video. Thanks so much for coming by. Thanks for painting along with me here. We're having a great time doing watercolors. Enjoy the watercolor journey. And also, too, remember, have fun with it. Don't worry about it. It's a process and it's a journey. It takes time. So don't rush yourself. Just keep learning. Keep sticking with us here week after week, month after month, and year after year. If you're just sticking with us each week, each month, and each year as you go, you're going to be learning new things each week. You'll be practicing new things each week and practicing the same things that we cover over and over again, which are the fundamentals of watercolor. So you're always going to get week after week here, month after month, and year after year, the fundamentals of watercolor, which then in turn you'll just learn automatically because you're doing it all the time. And then all of a sudden it's just going to dawn on you that you have a whole toolbox of new information that you've learned just because you're following along and painting along and drawing with us each week here. So always remember that. It's key that you join us every week as much as you can. Of course, you can't make it every week, and of course you want to paint the things you want to paint. You might not want to paint flowers sometimes, or you might not want to paint landscapes or whatever. Maybe you have your favorite subject matter. Maybe you like doing boats and these type of paintings along the seashore. Do whatever paintings you can that you really, really like. And then if we're not doing your favorite painting one week, then maybe you go into my archives and you just type in boat paintings by Chris Petri or Chris Petri boat paintings. You'll see that I've done probably 50 or 75 boat paintings over the last 5 years on YouTube. So you can go back and look at my old videos. They might not be as good as this video. You know, I've got better cameras now, better microphones, better lighting. I've got all kinds of better gear. I've always been changing and trying to upgrade my equipment and everything like that to make better videos. But even the old ones they're not terrible. You could probably, muscle through them and kind of, have fun doing a couple boat paintings from, a couple years ago or whatever. Always remember, there's lots of stuff here on YouTube on my channel, my archives, as well as we're going to be painting for you every week, week after week, month after month, and year after year going forward. So you'll always be absolutely sure to find my videos coming out each week as we go. So stick with us here, and we're going to have lots of fun in the future, okay? All right, so we'll see you soon.